Welcome, everyone, to The Rant. We are live on this Thursday, May 1st, 2025. The Cubs have just taken 2 of 3 from the Pirates. Really should have swept the Pirates, but they did not, thanks to a really freak play that we'll get into. But at the end of the day, the Cubs ended up taking 2 of 3. They were back to hitting the long ball. Well, in the 2 games they won, they hit 4 games each. So in the game on Tuesday and the game today,
they hit 4 what each?
4 home runs.
Okay, thank you.
Each
there
game.
you go.
Those are different from 4 games.
4 home runs in each game.
Thank you for that.
It's so technical. Gosh, Evan. Geez.
My bad.
So, yeah, so it's good, right? The Cubs, let's see, I'll just run down real quick. On Tuesday, they won 9-0. Colin Ray, he went today, but Imanaga went on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's when we all got scared crapless because he left the game and everybody's like, oh, God, he hurt his knee. And it's like, nope, just cramps. Like, okay, woo.
5 innings pitched, no runs. The bullpen looked really good. The Pirates looked really bad. It was 9-0, 4 home runs in that game. And then yesterday, the Cubs lost by 1 run due to a freak play. And then on today, the Cubs dominated 8-3, and Colin Ray looked really good. The starting pitching for the Cubs is looking really good. And if you look at the ERA for Ray, is 1.46. Boyd is at 2.7 and Imanaga is 2.77. Not a lot to complain about there.
No, there's really not. And like you said, the long ball was really what carried us today, especially beyond Tuesday's game. It sure seemed like he wasn't, I don't know, maybe I was being too optimistic, but when Counsell came out, it looked like Imanaga was trying to stay in the game, and then Counsell was like, no, you're coming out. Especially precautionary when you're doing that well. Especially in the season, and that game, he didn't want to push it. That seemed like the best option, and then the bullpen shut him out. I think that's the 4th game that we've shut out the opponents. I think that's the fourth or 5th game this season that the Cubs have not allowed a run. So that was in April. So that was before May, and already 4 shutouts. That's pretty good.
And for those who are wondering, my light just went out. We were just talking off mic before this started about Jacob's lighting, and now mine has. Now I'm in the dark. Nothing I can do about that. But no, I think it's also today was the 5th game in which the Cubs have hit 4 or more home runs, which is as many as they did last year in the entire season.
That's crazy.
So the power. Now here's my one, and I promise I won't bitch about it again after this. But on Facebook, someone today after the game, not before the game, not anything else, was like, oh, that's fine, but Suzuki still sucks. The man hit 2 homers today. He homered in the first game of the series. He's been overall, like for the last 3 seasons, he has been the team's best hitter, bar none. Right?
He's got 9 home runs and he's batting .298.
But John, he only does it when it doesn't matter. You know, like how it didn't matter that he hit one to put them ahead against Paul freaking Skenes in the 5th inning today. Like that. What are we doing here? But that's Suzuki. They're the only person other than Hap who gets more hate for being a very good baseball player is Seiya Suzuki. Yeah. It is. I'm going to keep this short, so I'm not going to dive into the potential reasons for why that might be. But the dude just continues to rake. And now, does he go through periods where he looks lost? And you know, Jacob, I know there were a few where there were some texts that were going back and forth, and Arthur was like, what the hell is this guy doing? You know, paraphrasing, but like he looked bad at times. But man, when he's right, and I think part of that was the wrist and whatever, who knows. But I mean, the dude, like that top 4 right now, 5, you know, when Carson Kelly's up there, whatever, like they can all mash. And boy, and then I promise I'm about to shut up, but man, does it help that Dansby Swanson all of a sudden moving down to 8, all of a sudden looks like he knows how to hit again. And what a tremendous improvement that is when that dude is right, when he's driving the ball and just staying back on it. Oh my goodness. So that today was good for a number of reasons.
today was, and I think the thing with Seiya is he's second best hitter on the team. I'll probably still give Tucker the crown there, but I'd say they're fairly close. The problem with Seiya is, like you said, he's either amazing or he looks like he's never played baseball in his life.
Yeah.
His highs are high and his lows are low. The strike zone that he gets from umpires isn't great, and that hurts him a lot. They're robbing him of so many at bats, but he also then will watch a fastball down the middle for strike 3, or he'll go down. He strikes out a lot, or in big moments, it seems like he does. And when you're watching the game, he's infuriating to watch because it's like strikeout, of course, or double play, of course. But then you look back at his stats and you're like, wait, this dude's one of the best hitters in baseball. So in a little microscopic view, he can be a very frustrating player to watch, but especially when you look at the grand aspect of it, the dude just mashes. I mean, he just crushes the ball. Being a DH, maybe that helps him with that, being able to just focus on hitting. I'm not sure really how that affects him, but he's done that. He's taken that transition well. Just like you mentioned, Dansby did the 8-hole. He didn't that's a veteran. He didn't complain. He just went down, continued to go about his business, and it's working. He's all of a sudden he has 2 home runs since being moved down to the 8-hole, I believe. I know that you guys and then Blake and I, we all mentioned that a few days ago before the Pittsburgh series on Monday, they need to move Dansby down in the order. Council listened, so maybe he listens to this podcast. He should,
Hi, Greg.
Yeah. And it was immediately having his bat in the lineup down there with Pete Armstrong, who continues to mash and just destroy the ball, and Nico Horner, John Birdie. He's had some good hits. As much as I still don't love him as a third base option, doesn't he have like a 300 average or somewhere around?
He's at 298, I think.
Yeah. And so sure, there's not a lot of opportunities there. I understand that. He's only had 49 at bats. He has a 306 average. 295.
I've got 295. I don't know.
Either way, he's right around 300 with right around 50 at bats.
It's good.
That's really good. He's not really hitting for power. OPS in the mid 700s, so not awful, but the slugging isn't really where you would like it. There's plenty of options for third base that I would like them to look at in the minors. But it was a great series, like you said yesterday, game that they should have probably won Wednesday. But there were also other factors that probably had the players a little not focused on baseball as much.
Yeah, exactly. But you talk about Birdie, and he's been the best option at third. I mean, in terms of defensively, he's definitely looked the best, and that's not saying a lot. And he having him there playing the way that he's playing, and when he gets on the bases, he is just a terror. I mean, the guy, he's a runner, and it's awesome. He's super aggressive. He's fast as can be. I don't even know if he's been caught stealing yet this year. If he has, it's only been once, or maybe twice, but I don't think much. He's just he's a terror, right? And so, for him, having him on the team gives the Cubs the ability to let Shaw work down in Iowa, much to our chagrin, and to get that comfort back. And I think he's been raking down in Iowa, but it's just to get him to kind of settle in a little bit and to get the feel of the season. And then I think to bring him back up to Chicago, maybe in 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe after he's kind of settled in a little bit, might be good for him.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. You go.
Okay. Thank you.
No, now you go.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I'll wait a few more. Shaw's looked fantastic in Iowa, along with so many other guys. That Iowa team is incredible. Jordan Wicks got absolutely destroyed today, but that was bad. That's a topic for another day. The hitting's been fantastic. Not only do you have Shaw, you have Ballesteros, Johnny Long, Alcantara, Casey. The whole team is crushing it. A lot of those players would probably have a spot on a decent amount of major league rosters, which is really cool. But yeah, he has a 943 OPS, 324 average. He only has 1 home run, but he has 12 hits and 37 at-bats with 5 runs. So, I mean, he's had almost the same amount of playing time as he did in the majors, and he is doing light years better. That's exciting. You also have Johnny Long, who is an option that I would love for them to look at as a potential, maybe a stopgap, maybe see what he can do. I think he has a really good bat. He can also play first if needed, so there is some defensive versatility. But he's another name if they want to give Shaw a little bit longer. Long has an 859 OPS with a 330 average. He has 2 home runs. He has 15 RBIs this year, although he was there for a little longer than Shaw. But both of them are very intriguing options. I would love for Shaw to be back up within 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know if that's pushing it, but I feel give him about a month in AAA, and he's clearly figured it out, or he's gotten back in a groove. It appeared his struggles were more mental than the more technical side of things in the major leagues. Evan, I know you've been more on this. Has he changed his stance at all after going back to Iowa?
No, and the one thing I want to add too is he's doing those numbers. He was 1 for 17 when he first went down there. So now you look at what he's doing since going 1 for 17 to start. The issue that I have, and I wrote about this a little bit today, the numbers do mask a little bit, and what he had talked about to the media before he got sent down. Apparently, he had preemptively tried to speed up his timing to be ready for major league velocity, and that hurt him. It's weird because he actually looked the opposite. It looked like he was late to go, like he was overthinking. But that's being fixed. The issue that I have a little bit, because it goes back and forth, because he was also, as much as he said he was getting early, it was very evident that he was not cutting his swing loose. His average velocity, bat velocity, was only like 68.3, I think, versus a major league average of 71.5, which is still pretty low. And that's not who he is, right? That's not a power hitter swinging 68.5. He's got to be up in the low to mid 70s. And so that's what I want to see more of. The issue that I have is he's hitting it on the ground a lot, like 53% of the time, I think, ground balls so far back in Iowa. Now, the part that I mentioned with that, though, is when Ian Happ got sent down in 2019, a lot of what he had to do was overcorrect. He had some big holes in his swing. He was a little bit too loopy. And so he intentionally made a decision, like he was trying to hit the ball on the ground more, because then eventually you can kind of get those things to balance out. So what I don't know is if that is an intentional thing on Shaw's part, if it's just sometimes, you go through those functions. But what I like to see is that he's getting, and it happens because he's got good speed, right? We saw that a lot. He got 2-3 infield hits at least with the Cubs. But what I like, and here's what I pointed out. So there's a couple things I think Michael Cerami over at Bleacher Nation leaned a little bit more into. Here's what's not good about what he's doing. And I touched on that. What I like, though, is in the last, he's had 4 consecutive games with multiple hits. I think that's 19. I believe he had 19 plate appearances. And in those, he swung at the first pitch 9 times. I think he only took like 1 or 2 strikes. And so that is in sharp contrast to what we saw with the Cubs, where he was taking a lot of first pitch strikes. His most frequent count after 0-0, I think, was we discussed this. I think there were 33 of them where he had an 0-1 count, right? Yeah. So now, and that can be fouling it off, right? That's not necessarily taking, but I think those who watched saw that he was taking a lot. And so that's what I want to see from him, right? Is that those kind of growth, because the results are one thing. I want to see that process. I want to see his process change, which then should result. And this is the problem we have when you do a deep dive like something like that, and then you throw it out for the world to consume, and they're all like, like I can say, oh, Swanson looks, boy, he's still batting under 200. Like, okay, yep, you're right. Sorry, geniuses. But yeah, I like where Shaw's at, but I do think, hey, the longer they can get Birdie to just be at the very least a plausible 9-hole hitter and just not a butcher at third base, like he can keep that seat warm for a while, because I think they do want to give enough runway to Shaw, because like that's their future. Shaw's their future at third base at this point.
Well, and it's a luxury to feel like you're not having to force your hand. And I think that's the thing, right? Is that like they can take their time and they can do it right, and that's a nice thing to be able to do. And I think it's going to end up benefiting the Cubs in the long run throughout the season. It's a long season. The Cubs have started well. Things seem to be going really well on really all fronts. I mean, we were really concerned about the bullpen, and in the last week, the bullpen's got a 2.79 ERA, and they've looked really good. And so that's kind of worked itself out. And of course, they've made some changes in the bullpen too. And I think those changes have Palencia coming up, I think has been a positive for them.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to feel good about right now, and not too much to like really kind of worry about. And Evan, you and I on the last show were talking about like the bullpen and why are you being difficult with the way that you're handling your pitching? Let's just focus on the third base issue. And it kind of feels like that's where we are now, only a few days later. That really the only thing to worry about is the third base issue. And Birdie's doing a nice job, hanging in there. And, let's just go forward. It's a long season and let's just play baseball.
Yeah. I mean, they're throwing strikes, right? Like we're not seeing, I think that's kind of the thing that you get with the difference between, and by no means am I trying to say like some combination of like Drew Pomeranz and Tom Cosgrove, both of whom have looked really good.
Pomeranz has looked really good.
Yeah,
the guy who was sitting on his couch just 2 weeks ago.
But I think that's the difference, and where as much as I would rather see them spend more money on bullpen guys, right? But where if we look at one option is bring guys up from the farm. The other option is find some guy on a minor league deal, some 35-year-old seemingly washed up veteran who's maybe discovered something new and bring him in. I think that when we talked about Luke Little coming up, when we, talked about Jordan Wicks, while those guys do have some major league experience, it seemed evident, right? And I'm just watching that they were pressing, that they were trying to kind of force things and trying either not to throw balls, which is going to result in you throwing balls, or trying not to give up hard contact and nibble. But these dudes like Tom Cosgrove and Drew Pomeranz, dudes like that, they're like, hey, I've been here, I've done that, I've seen it. Like they're not afraid to go. They've given up bombs left and right before. They're not afraid to just go and try to attack these hitters. And that's the difference that you're seeing, is that these guys are out there throwing strikes, letting their defense do the work behind them, and that shows in the results. So like it's at least not maddening to watch and be like, dude, please, for the love of God, don't walk. Julian Merriweather did this too, so it's not exclusive to young guys, but like just don't walk the bases loaded in the 10th. That's all I'm asking. I've said this before. I'd rather you give up a 2-run shot to lead off the 10th than to walk 2 batters and load the bases with none dead. Just flat out, because at least you gave them a chance. But I like where this is going, and I mean, and we'll see, right? Because who just came up? Why am I blanking on this? Derp. Who did just call up?
Starts with an F.
Well,
okay. Well, my brain's blanking.
I'm just gonna pretend that my computer froze.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll just move along.
Chris Flexen.
Good Lord.
I told you it started with an F. I mean, I gave you that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I literally wrote about him having the most.
I'm looking at the article.
The most extreme arm angle, 70 degrees over the top, like dead over the top. It's since the start of the 2021 season, there is no other pitcher in baseball within like 4 degrees of this guy, or 5, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, it's extreme. Now he's changed that a little bit. Apparently he's throwing more at a 65 and has ditched his sweeper in favor of like a bullet gyro slider, which is an interesting thing, right? And that's another one. Like, does he start in place of Ben Brown? Does he piggyback Brown? Because we know that getting 4 innings out of him at this point, Brown, that is kind of hard to see. But I'm interested in some of these guys because, again, he's made a change like that to his repertoire and his slot. Flexen, I think, dropped his arm slot a little bit too. Also changed his repertoire a little bit. Colin Ray, who has been absolutely shoving it. And like this show, we've all got egg on our face or at least Jacob and I do. John, you haven't been as down on it, but like we both been down. Like I didn't understand the Ray signing. I thought it was a huge waste, and yet this dude's been a stud. But again, he's changed his slot a little bit. He shifted his repertoire, added another pitch, right, Jacob? As you wrote about we wrote about it the other day. We put it out today. Good timing editorially. Dig it. But he's up to 7 pitches in his repertoire. Like they're finding some of these guys who have. I appreciate that they set their egos aside. They got humble and said, you know what? Something I'm doing is not working. I want to be better. I want to do better. Let's figure this out. And the Cubs, I feel like, have found some of these veterans. We'll see how it lasts the rest of the season, but it looks really good with a lot of these guys, and I love watching it.
Yeah, no,
you're encouraging Jed Hoyer's behavior, Evan.
Maybe I'm encouraging Tyler Zombro's behavior, because I'm going to put this.
There you go.
I'm looking at Tyler Zombro right now with the things that I'm seeing from these guys and what they've done that I want to say that he has maybe helped to identify and encourage.
Yeah. Colin Ray's looked fantastic. Like you said, he's changed his repertoire a lot. In 2024, his arm angle was at 35 degrees. He's dropped that to 30 degrees. So that's, as you just mentioned, that's a big change. It's not as, up high, but it's a little more to the side. By 5 degrees, that's a big difference. He now has 7 pitches in his repertoire. Like Evan said, I wrote about this, and it came out this morning, so I encourage you to check that out. But his fastball, he's using his four-seam a lot. He's using his four-seam 50% of the time. That's his number one pitch. Last year, it was his second at 20%. His sinker was his leading pitch last year at 31%. That's now down to 7. So he has 7 different pitches that he's using. And just looking at his savant it's just almost all red. It's fantastic. He's striking out a lot. Now, he only had 2 strikeouts today, so that did hurt his numbers quite a bit when you look at the strikeouts. But still, he's not walking anyone. He has a 3.9% walk rate. He's not giving up much hard contact with barrel or hard hit rate. He's giving up some fly balls, and he's not getting a lot of chase. But even though he's not getting chase, that means that he's attacking the zone. You can see that in a few things. He's attacking the zone with the low chase rate. It means they don't really have a chance to chase outside. And then his walk rate. He's not walking people because he's attacking the zone. Multiple different ways to look into that and to read around that. But as you mentioned with Julian Merriweather and all these pitchers that were like, just attack the zone. That's exactly what Ray is doing. He's getting a little lucky, as I think anyone would admit. His 1.46 ERA, his expected ERA is 3.06. So he's getting lucky there, but that's never a bad thing. And you can see, like, even though the results are better than they should be, the stuff can back that up. The stuff backs up. Hey, this isn't just he's a really bad pitcher and he's getting really lucky. No, he has the stuff. The velocity is up as well. That's another thing that I wanted to highlight. Let me pull up the exact numbers, but his velocity is up. So not only is his arm angle changed, and I'm not sure how that all would correlate, but the fastball velocity is up from last year by 1.6 miles an hour. The off speed is up by 1.3, and the breaking velocity by 0.5 mile an hour. So really that fastball one. Last year in 2024 with the Brewers, he averaged 91.2 miles an hour. Now it's 92.8. So while it may not seem like a big difference, that's a big improvement. And like you said, they're just getting these guys, they're finding them and realizing, hey, will you work with us? Some guys, maybe not. It may not work out. But for the guys that they find that are willing to work with Zombro and Hadavi, their results are there. I mean, Pomerantz is another perfect example. Yesterday, he had a 40% whiff rate on his fastball. Just the fastball knuckle curve. Like, it's nasty. It's just one's up here, one's down. It's incredible. Pro Stuff Plus of 123. It's Pomerantz has looked good. All of these guys that they're just finding and out of the rubble, the needles in the haystack, they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take you. And they come and everyone's like, wait, this guy's
is Jed
good again?
Hoyer's MO.
Yeah, it is.
Right. I mean, and sometimes he doesn't get away with it.
Right.
And it kind of feels like maybe he's kind of, hit that sweet spot here where it's kind of coming together. And I mean, like, if you go back to Ray, though, looking at his numbers, it's kind of interesting. His batting average on balls against is pretty high at 315. So balls are landing in when they go in play. He's leaving 90% of runners on base, which is extraordinary.
Yep.
And he's getting 37% ground balls, which is, again, like, really, it's just, the numbers are just wacky. He hasn't given up any home runs, but he's given up a whole bunch of fly balls. And so it's just kind of wild, like, how he's going about doing this. And it'll be interesting to see, like, as we progress towards the All-Star break, kind of how it all plays out. But going into the Cubs have an opportunity here. They're right now 19-13, 2 games up on the Cincinnati Reds. I don't see the Reds sticking around for long. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure who in the NL Central is going to. I mean, somebody's bound to hang around 500, but I think the Cubs could run away with this pretty early. Especially if they do well against the division, and they play Milwaukee coming up. 3 in Milwaukee starting tomorrow. They've got Ben Brown going against Quinn Priester, Tyon against Jose Quintana, and then Saga against Freddie Peralta. Jose Quintana has been
sort of perfect game
for everybody except for the Cubs. It's like if as a Cubs fan, if there's a player you just want to despise because he was just so bad with the Cubs and so good with everyone else, it's that guy.
But he wasn't bad. It's that the expectations
he was worse than he's been.
Him. Well, sure, but I mean the expectations thrusted. He was supposed to be a number 2. That's really what they traded for. He should have, and he was like a 4.
Oh, he was a number 2.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think this is a super important series, right? I think for a few reasons, like the now, granted, the Cubs live rent free in Brewers fans' heads, and will, I'm sure, be there. It'll be Wrigley North again, but I mean, the Brewers are the reigning division champs and have, for the last several years, have been far better than anybody else in the division on an aggregate, right? I mean, they've been the best team in the division for a while now. And so going in there, being able to beat them early, and do so ideally in kind of a definitive manner, I think would go a long way, like mentally, because, we're all the national folks are finally starting to come around a little bit. You're seeing that in the power rankings, like with the Cubs actually, the thing that we've all been talking about for the last month now, like, John Heyman has caught on to the idea that the Cubs have played a whole bunch of really good teams. Like, oh, gee, you think? Like, that's pretty obvious. And so now they're entering this stretch where it's like, okay, you played a bad team overall in the Pirates, and you beat them 2 out of 3. Like that. That's what has to keep happening, right? You have,
and you should have swept them.
Those teams,
really, honestly. If not for one freak play, the Cubs sweep that series.
Which I was at a high school baseball game, so I was like following it online and not watching it. And so I see, Andrew McCutchen doubles to Dansby Swanson. I'm like, huh?
How'd that work?
What are you talking about? Like, how's that possible? And then I saw it. I was like, oh, okay. Swanson had a couple. Did you see him just like completely biff the double play relay today and just like miss the throw, like completely? And that's what, they were like,
bad.
And JD was just like, man, if he could crawl in a hole right now, he would, because he's so good. And then he makes a play like that, and you're just like, goodness, man, that's like a David Bodie move. But no, anyway, but I think this weekend is like, a lot of people have been waiting for the other shoe to drop on the Cubs. Like, there's a lot of folks that still don't believe in them. And I think sweeping Milwaukee for sure, but at least taking 2 out of 3, I think would put a lot of people in a much better mental state about where this team is and how good it can be. And so that to me is what I'm looking at. You got to get 2 of these. I'm a little bit concerned with the way Ben Brown's been pitching.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
But that's
he had a no-hitter. He had a no-hitter last time he played there, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what flexing is there. Like, you don't have to force Brown to throw 100 pitches in 4 innings like he did recently. You don't have to kind of like, if he runs out of gas, or if the wheels start getting, because that's what happens with him, right? He looks great for a while, and then all of a sudden it gets wobbly, and you just be like, all right, cool. We got a starter ready to go, stretched out. Thursday should have been today should have been Flexen's start with Iowa, so he'll be on 1 day of extra rest. He can give you as many innings as you need if Brown does, and if Brown goes out and shoves, cool. Then Flexen can be like a 2-inning guy. But I like how this sets up for the Cubs.
And we mentioned Brown's bad luck too, right? I mean, like something's bound to give there. He's got a 4.13 BABIP. That's gonna, these soft singles and like just little bloop hits and things like that. I don't see that happening again. And so if it doesn't give up hard contact, I think he's going to do just fine. I mean, get him through 5 innings and that'll be great. But, similar to this series, we were saying before the beginning of the Pittsburgh series, this first game is really important. The Cubs really need to go out there, be competitive, and win this first game. And so, I mean, and have almost like that playoff mindset, like you've got to go out there and you just got to win this first game. And then let everything fall as it will in the next couple of games where you've got Tyon and Imanaga going. And Imanaga's been great, right? I mean, like it feels really good to have him going on Sunday. And, if you can win that game on Friday, it feels like you could really start thinking about the possibility of a sweep.
Yes. No, and Brown, he needs a third pitch. He really needs a third pitch, and they haven't found it. They haven't found. They experimented with the changeup, especially in spring training, and it just didn't work. Like that was the pitch that they were really trying to add to his repertoire, and that didn't work. I was looking to make sure that I was not off on this. He's only throwing it 2% of the time, so he's not throwing his changeup at all. He's just using his four seam and his curve, which are good. But at what rate does the hitter just sit one of them and eventually he's got to throw it and then he's hitting it? And that's kind of what they're doing. So while he has good stuff, he needs a third pitch to be successful. We're seeing that. And we're seeing he can be okay with just 2 pitches. Like you guys said, he's going and he's cruising through with these opponents. And then the wheels fall off in 1 inning. It was the 4th inning last time. He went through 3.2 innings. And then all of a sudden, oh, this dude does not have it. Now, thankfully, Counsell has been way more aggressive this year. And he's like, okay, you don't have it. You're out. Cool. Thanks for what you did. And he even said afterwards, Counsell said, we need to get better from Brown. And Brown openly said, I need to go longer in my starts. So there's that awareness. They understand what they need to see improvement-wise. We just have 3 more rough series, and then that's it. Like the Cubs face the Brewers, and then they're at home for the Giants. And so this is kind of dumb. They go away to the Brewers, home to the Giants, which isn't that far of a drive, away to the Mets, and then home for the Marlins. So we have away, home, which is dumb. But anyways, that's 3 good teams. The Brewers, the Giants, and the Mets. The Giants and the Mets are 2 of the best teams in baseball. So I think that will be another big test. So I think the Cubs can compete with them very well. And then you have Marlins, White Sox, Marlins, Reds, Rockies, Reds. So
that's like 15 straight wins right there.
Yeah, we're not out.
Maybe not. I mean, the Reds are good ish, but
they're not out of the gauntlet yet. They're getting there.
And 6 against the Marlins, 3 against the White Sox, 3 against the Rockies. I mean, like the Rockies are terrible.
You have to take advantage. Beating good teams is cool, like awesome. You also have to beat the bad teams because you can't come out of April with 18 wins and be like, whoa, this team's for real, and then choke against the bad teams. Win 2 out of 3 every series the rest of the year, and you're fine. Clearly that's not going to happen. But you got to beat up on the bad teams because not only does it help the players' confidence, it helps that record so that if you sweep a bad team, then you can, instead of just winning 2 out of 3, you can afford to lose a freak game later in the year against the Giants or the Mets.
The one yesterday.
Right. It builds up that insurance. You can have that insurance of wins. So after these next 3 series, not that they're home free, but they have the easiest schedule and one of the easiest, if not the easiest schedule in baseball after this because they faced all the hard
teams.
The
easiest left. They got the easy, and they had the hardest, not by a slim margin. It was a broad. But yeah, I mean, I think this gives them the opportunity, right? They've played well against some of these teams. They haven't had that period where they've rattled off 5, 6, 7 in a row, right? That's what good teams need to be able to do because, again, you can't even expect to win 2 out of 3 every single time. The tough part is then, okay, well, what if you win the first 2, then you lose the last, and then you lose the first of the next series, right? And then you kind of find yourself playing this back and forth to where now you've got to win 2 out of 3 just to make up for those last couple. Like if you can bank a few wins in here against some of these bad teams, it gives them that ability to weather the storm a little bit better, as that stuff comes back up. Because at some point, right, the other thing, along with that really tough schedule, they had 6 days off in April. So they were able to recoup between each series, right? They had that bookend. I think they have 4 days off in May, and then they only have 2 in June. And so at a certain point, that all starts, I mean, look, a lot of people look at this like, oh, baseball is just a game. They should be, it's like, well, right. But when you're playing that game for 28 out of 30 days, that can really become a drag, especially as the weather warms up, the travel starts to add up in there. And so that's where I think the schedule hurt them because of the teams they had to play, but it helped them because they had every single Thursday in April and 2 Mondays off. And that was very, very helpful at the end of the day. So that the schedule starts to operate against them a little bit in that regard once they get into the summer.
Yeah, and they're relatively healthy right now. So just going forward, it looks good. It feels good. 3-game series against the Brewers. We could possibly circle back next on Monday. I'm just looking ahead. It looks like the Cubs play the Giants at 6:40 at Wrigley. So we'll see. We'll see when our next show will be. If worst case, it's going to be in a week next Thursday, but best case, we'll try to push one out on Monday after the Cubs sweep the Brewers. So I'm calling for a sweep.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but I'm also fine with a series win. Just win the series. Keep adding up those series wins, and you will be a very, very successful club.
So I don't know if we can see this. I wanted to talk. So there we go. There's Ben Brown's changeup. At least that's what it was start of last year. I don't know if he's still throwing the same thing, but that's a semi-traditional circle change grip. If he's still throwing that, which would be a little bit surprising to me, knowing what Zombro and Tread, I want to see him change that to a 2-seam orientation kick change. Just throw the crap out of it. And I really think because his changeup doesn't get.
I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow.
I'm telling you, I'll get in there and coach him up. Get Tyler in there to tell him what to do. And here's the thing. Here's why I don't think he's throwing a kick, because he gets a ton of ride on his change. He gets very little depth on his changeup, more ride than anybody else out there. So anyway, that's the secret. Ben Brown, start throwing a kick change. Thank me later for becoming the Cubs' number 2 starter. Anyway.
There you go. All right.
There you go. There we have
it there. Thanks for joining us, Craig Counsell, and all the other members of the Chicago Cubs coaching staff that watch. You're welcome for all of the advice and wisdom that we share with you.
Hold on. While I'm thinking about it, somebody remind Tyler or Blake. I don't know why I said Tyler. I know a guy named Tyler with this, God. Now you can clip this, Blake, because I just called you by the wrong name. To clip that part right there. I'm thinking out loud.
Okay. Jacob,
I already marked the time down. Oh, trust me, the time's already been marked down. We're good.
Yeah, because I called Blake Tyler. Hi, Tyler.
Blake Tyler. That's a good nickname.
No, yeah, I know a guy named that, and I was thinking. Anyway, sorry.
That is a great clip to end on. In fact.
Yes, so it is. It's a good transition. Make sure to follow the Instagram and the TikTok and the Facebook at Cubs Insider. We're on all of those. Obviously, the Twitter as well. If you're watching live, then you've already found us. Congratulations. Go find us on the other accounts. You did it.
Do it. Subscribe.
Subscribe, comment,
resubscribe,
comment your favorite moment from that Pittsburgh series. Yeah, just keep smashing that like button. But
cool.
Follow those. We got some fun clips, and that's where you can see all the updates for all of our different shows.
And we're out. See ya.